Hello there YouTube, and welcome along to Steve's coronavirus update. In this video I'm going to be talking about Scotland, pubs and cinemas, okay? That's what I'm going to talk about in this video. So I'm going to start with cinemas first. I want to talk briefly about cinemas because a lot of movies, as you may be aware by now, over the course of this year, a lot of movies have either been delayed or they've been posted onto streaming services like Disney Plus and Amazon Prime Video. Trolls World Tour was one of them. Artemis Fowl, the one and only Ivan, Hamilton, Mulan. All of those movies were instead skipping cinemas and being put onto Disney Plus. And of course now recently it's been announced that Pixar's Soul was due to be released in cinemas in November this year, but is now instead being released on Disney Plus on Christmas Day. So it's a nice little Christmas present, I guess, to all of the Disney fans out there. You all get a nice new Pixar film being released on Disney Plus. But at the same time it is a little bit worrying for the cinema industry though, because obviously where a lot of these Hollywood companies like Universal, for example, earlier this year when they said about Trolls World Tour, of course they said about that being released on streaming services like Prime Video, for example, you know, and then obviously Disney are posting all their sort of Disney content that's due to be released in cinemas onto their streaming service as well. It is a little bit worrying for the cinemas, you know, because it is going to have a massive impact on the cinema industry. They're losing money, they're losing business, they're losing customers, you know, and to be honest, it is a very worrying time. Cineworld, which is a UK cinema here in the UK, they've recently announced that they are temporarily closing all of their doors in the UK and Ireland due to the pandemic. And they're also closing some US theatres as well. The company who own Cineworld, they're also going to be closing some US theatres as well. And again, it is very, very worrying. It's worrying times, that's for sure. So yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, it's not great. It's not perfect, neither. And it is very worrying, you know, because there are people out there, like me, for example, who, before the pandemic, used to love going to the cinema, used to love watching movies on the big screen. Obviously, you had the loud surround sound at the back of you or all around you, you know. And again, it's just that amazing cinema feel, the cinema experience that you go there to have, really, isn't it? So it's not just to be in comfortable recliner chairs and watch your favourite movie at the time being screened on a big screen, but it's at the same time that cinematic feel that you get when you go to the cinema, you know. It is also worrying because Odeon have announced that some of their cinemas in the UK are going to only be opening from Friday to Sunday in certain select cinemas. Luckily the cinema near where I am isn't going to be doing that. They're going to be continuing to stay open 7 days a week, but who's to say that now that the UK are in this second wave of COVID, that the top people at Odeon are going to announce that they're going to do this to all of their cinemas, not just the select ones. So, you know, it is worrying times for the cinema industry, like I say, because, you know, all these films that are getting pushed back to next year, you know, it's not helping the cinema industry, but at the same time it is understandable because, you know, the people that make these Hollywood blockbuster movies have to get their money back somehow, you know. They have a budget, they spend a massive budget making these movies as perfect as they possibly can be, but at the same time they want to get their money back through obviously screening this in a theatre or a cinema, you know. And obviously the customers who go to watch these movies in the cinema and theatres are obviously paying to see the movie, but they're also kind of paying off the budget in theory in terms of what they've made, really. So yeah, I mean, to be honest, it is a little bit bad for the cinema industry, I'm not going to lie. And I do hope and pray that eventually, the cinema industry does get back up and running again, because it'll be very good for them to get back up and running, but at the same time, you've got to do it in a safe way as well. You've got to do it in a safe way. So there we go. Right, anyway, so that's the cinema industry that I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk a little bit about pubs as well, because again, this is another hospitality sector that is being targeted thanks to COVID, really. They have recently been saying that with pubs, bars and restaurants, they make up a third of new coronavirus cases. Now, to be honest with you, let's look back at August, right? We had 50% off here in the UK to go out to our favourite restaurant or pub and go and have some grub and some drinks, basically on the government. Let's put it that way. The government gave us 50% off to go to a pub or a bar or a restaurant to have some nice grub and a drink, and of course it was very successful. A lot of people went to these places, and of course they they went there. They obviously had their food, their drinks and stuff like that, and it was successful. And a lot of these pubs and restaurants have continued to do, as they called it back in August, eat out to help out in September. And and there's a pub chain here in the UK called Wetherspoons. They're doing their eat out to help out, in theory, until November, so a lot of these restaurants and stuff are trying to make their money back thanks to the first national lockdown that we had. And obviously this is a good way of them doing it, because it is enticing customers back. But at the same time, it is a little bit worrying that we're having these little reports, these little news stories online, which are saying that a third of these coronavirus cases are being made by people going to the pub or the restaurants, and obviously there is now that 10 PM curfew put in place for pubs and restaurants, where obviously everyone has to be out of a pub and a restaurant by 10 o'clock, or the company and you, in theory, are breaking the law. So, and obviously the company gets fined, and I'm pretty certain, yourself gets fined as well. I'm pretty certain there's probably that in place as well. But at the same time, it is bad that, again, like I say, the hospitality sector is being targeted thanks to COVID. People are going to read these news stories online, and it's going to scaremonger them into not going into a pub, not going into a restaurant. They are safe places, and it's the same with cinemas. They are safe places to go as long as you keep your distance from everyone. That's regardless of a complete and utter stranger that you don't know, or your friends. If it's your family, as long as you're in the same household, then that's different. You don't need social distance. If you're with family who are not in the same household as you, then social distance. Because you're not in the same household, It's the same with your friends, it's the same with your family, and it's the same with complete and utter strangers, So, as long as you do that, you're fine. As long as you wear a face covering when you first go into a pub or a restaurant, then wear your face covering. Because, seriously, that will help. That will help to break that chain of the coronavirus cases, right? At the end of the day, really, people shouldn't be going to a pub, to a restaurant, to a cinema when you're suffering with COVID. That's not really an ideal thing. And there is a law out there to say if you refuse to self-isolate, then you will be fined £10,000 or a maximum of £10,000. They will vary, of course, but it is the truth. It is the truth. So you're not doing yourself any favours, and you're not doing the people around you any favours if you are one of those COVID-idiots, as I call them, who are flocking to a pub, to a restaurant, to a cinema, and spreading the disease. you need to self-isolate for 14 days. Do it, you know? Don't go out, don't leave your house, don't even go shopping, you know? Surely you've got mates that you can message and say, oh, I can't go out, I need to self-isolate, but could you do me a massive favour and do my shopping for me? Leave the bags outside my front door and message me when they're out there so I can go and collect them. You know, it's simple. It really is simple, you know? I don't understand why we're in a second wave when really, essentially, we should all be self-isolating if we have the virus or if we have symptoms of the virus, you know? I really don't get it. So anyway, there is that. And on top of that as well, obviously, you know, I just don't think it's right that the pubs, restaurants and cinemas are all being targeted thanks to COVID. You know, I really don't. Really don't at all. So obviously I wanted to talk about that in today's video, a little bit about pubs and restaurants and obviously the cinemas as well. The other thing that I wanted to talk about as well was a little bit about Scotland. Now, I know I'm hours and hours and hours away from Scotland, you know, and I'm probably a plane ride away from Scotland as well. But can I just say something, right? I feel as though Nicola Sturgeon, who is the Scottish Prime Minister, you know, we have our UK Prime Minister, which is Boris. In Scotland, they've got their Prime Minister, which is Nicola Sturgeon. I must say that she is handling this virus a lot better than Boris is here in the UK, you know. There was a woman, actually, an MP, who travelled to Westminster, to the House of Parliament in London, and she got a test to say that she was tested positive for COVID. And you know what she did? As soon as she got that test to say that she was tested positive for COVID, she got back on a public transport, which was a train, and went all the way from London to Scotland on a train. You know? And yet, she shouldn't have done that. She really shouldn't have done that. So, she admitted it, you know, and it was obviously in the press. And you know what Nicola Sturgeon did straight away? She sacked her. She actually did sack her. Because, you know, she's technically broken a rule. A COVID rule. You know? Which was, as soon as you get that test to say that you've tested positive for the virus, you need to self-isolate. And that's not what she did. She instead got a train which has got people on it, the members of the public on it, and obviously she went hours and hours on that train all the way back home in Scotland. You know? I don't get it. I really don't get it. So, anyway, but the funny thing is Nicola Sturgeon did that to one of her workers, right? Someone she works close with. Why didn't Boris do that earlier this year with Dominic Cummings? You know? Dominic Cummings is still in his position right now, you know, as technically Boris's right-hand man, you know. He didn't sack him, no. He just let him carry on with what he's doing. And this is why I say that Nicola Sturgeon is doing a much better job at handling the coronavirus than what Boris Johnson is, what Donald Trump is, you know. Donald Trump is no different, he really isn't. You know, he absolutely isn't. I'll tell you something now, right? I have actually got today a newspaper article. It's actually made front pages of the newspapers, right? I don't know how well you're going to see this. This is an image, but this is today's newspaper. So this is, what is this? The Mail? Yeah, the Mail on Sunday this is. So it is Health Secretary accused of joining MPs flouting 10 PM curfew as we reveal Hancock's tasteless COVID test joke in bar. He apparently said a tasteless COVID test joke in the Commons bar, in the bar that's in Parliament. And I'll tell you what exactly he supposedly said, according to this newspaper today. He said, the drinks are on me, but Public Health England are in charge of the payment methodology. There we go, trying to get that word out. Methodology. So I will not be paying anything. So that's exactly what he said. You know, that is utterly disgraceful, Matt Hancock. And, you know, I think, to be honest with you, you know, you don't deserve to be in your position right now as Health Secretary for making a tasteless joke like that. You're an utter clown, you know. I hate seeing you on my TV. I hate seeing you in an article. So, after you've said that tasteless joke in the Commons bar, maybe it's time for you to resign, Matt Hancock. Let someone else take charge. Maybe they'll do a better job than what you have with all of this, you know? Because I know you're part of Boris's cronies, but you don't deserve to be in your job. You really don't, you know? Really, really don't. Especially if you've just said a tasteless joke like that. Anyway, so there we go. That's just my thoughts on that. I just thought I'd let you guys know my thoughts on that. That might come across as a bit harsh and a little bit nasty, but it's just the truth. I'm literally just speaking the utter truth right here, you know? I really am. So there we go. Anyway, so yeah, anyway, right, so apart from that really, I think I have covered everything that I wanted to talk about in today's YouTube video. But yeah, anyway, hopefully there might be another coronavirus update at some point, who knows. I will say one more thing actually. I found out today, at the time of recording this, which is Sunday the 11th of October 2020, I found out that actually, where I am here in the UK, you've got Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole. All three of those areas have been known as a COVID hotspot, which is very worrying because really I've only known London, Leeds, Hull, all of those areas there to be known as a COVID hotspot. I didn't know that Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole were hotspot areas for the virus, but apparently since the 27th of September, according to some leading scientists who are monitoring the hotspot areas in the UK, according to them, from the 27th of September to now, we've been known as a hotspot area for COVID-19, and apparently it's set to continue looking like that up until the 25th of October at the moment. That's at the moment. So obviously that could change. If the rate of infection decides to decrease down a little bit, then maybe that will change. Who knows? But from between now, which is the 11th of October to the 25th of October, Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole and other areas of the UK are known as COVID hotspots, which is very, very worrying. And yeah, all I'm gonna say, and I say this in every video that I do for coronavirus updates, keep washing your hands, cover your face, and make space, okay? That is all that I'm going to say in this YouTube video now, okay? We need to stay safe, we need to bring the rate of infection down, and more importantly, we need to get rid of this virus once and for all, you know? If we could get rid of this virus way before a vaccine is developed, that would be absolutely amazing. But I don't think that's really going to happen, you know, in a real world. No, I reckon it is going to take a vaccine to get rid of the virus once and for all. But, you know, from now really, all that I can say is, you know, keep washing your hands, keep covering your face with a face mask or face covering, and please, 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 make space, continue social distancing. Alright, that's all that I've got to say in this YouTube video. I hope you guys did enjoy it today. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. If you enjoyed this video, leave a comment down below if you want to give your thoughts and opinions on some of the things that I have said in today's coronavirus update. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button as well if you've not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, SteveOfficial. But from me though, it's goodbye, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in my next YouTube video.